It appears my time has come, folks. My brother James has gifted me a Allan Holdsworth KIESEL guitar with incredible custom specs, a beautiful satin black, gold frets, the whole shebang. There is just one problem. My whole life, I've been trying to avoid this guitar. Just a couple words before I get going. Of course, as always, there's going to be timestamps below. I've been very fortunate to enjoy a reputation of doing reviews that are very direct and very honest. As you know, I've been asked a lot in my lifetime to do endorsements. I even get calls from companies now offering me to pay me for favorable reviews. But I always say no because, number one, I don't need the money. Number two, that defeats the whole purpose of what I'm trying to do, is give you a objective, subjectively objective, of my opinion on what I think of certain gear. And of course, sometimes that just rubs companies the wrong way because it's not what they want to hear. And case in point, go look at some of my videos. But today, the honesty also has to go both ways, in all fairness, because this is a guitar that I've been very judgmental about my whole life. Mind you, I never played it. And somehow I called it every sexual orientation slur there is. I called it ugly. I kind of judge people immediately when I see them play one and don't take them serious, even though I know they're great fusion players. And it just goes to show you how arrogant and ignorant I have been taught to be towards an instrument just because it looks a certain way and the player it's associated with. And that is something that I'm very proudly facing today, because I want to see, just discover how off I have been versus what thoughts hold true that I still feel towards this instrument. And of course, I'm a little bit more mature now, and it's kind of weird because, we're all judgmental, especially when it comes to music, and it's very subjective and a emotional thing. But it was really, what hit me was when my bro, when James called me and he talked about ordering one, and I started bashing it. And he goes, "Have you ever played one?" And I'm like, "No." And then I just remember there being a silence on both ends of the line. And I kind of immediately was like, And so he decided to order two. And he's like, "Okay, well, let's put your foot where your mouth is." And here we are. So I'm going to try to do this as honest as I can. And thank you, James, for giving me the opportunity and calling me out on my own shit. So it's going to be very interesting to see where I end up, on the scale versus how I felt this guitar my whole life and how I feel about it after actually spending 30, 40 hours on it. Which is funny because every time I see somebody play this guitar, they're an amazing player. I mean, it's one of those, 3,000 chords for 3 people thing. But I never understood why I had such a hostile opinion towards it. And is this guitar that good to change my mind? Now, undoubtedly, one of the things I still struggle with the most is the look of this guitar. I just don't think it's a beautiful instrument, quote unquote beautiful instrument. Again, I know some of you are going to lose their shit over it. And maybe it's just too late for me to relearn certain things, but I wonder why on the big stage of rock and roll or pop rock, I mean, if you ask yourself honestly, sincerely, with a hand on your heart, why is it that you don't see this guitar more outside of the fusion player? Why is that? And I think that if we're going to be honest, there simply are better looking options. I'm having a very, very hard time believing that the majority of people on planet Earth, even if they don't play guitar, would, in a neutral setting, say that the thing on the right looks more beautiful than the thing on the left. And I think that might be its biggest problem of why it fails to attract more players. Quite honestly, this beauty contest isn't a contest. Babe, which guitar do you find more beautiful?
Uh, the left?
Which guitar do you find more beautiful, honey?
I'd say the left.
How about this one, my love?
Or I would say the left. Left, 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 left. Oh, it's very close. I'm gonna have to say left.
What is it about this guitar that made you pick every single other one we have to be more beautiful in your opinion? You're not a guitar player, you're simply going by looks as a woman. Obviously, women have a great eye for fashion and etc. So, what is it that made you pick every other guitar to be more prettier?
My first impression is the size, so it looks like a child's guitar, perhaps,
Okay.
and the other ones are more adult.
Wow. That's a statement. I can imagine a lot of Kiesel guys are probably losing their shit as we speak and going to the comments section and being like, well, wait a second, you can buy an Arius or a DC if you want a quote unquote regular looking guitar. But that's just the thing. We're not reviewing those guitars. We are reviewing this guitar. Let's go to the spec sheet. All right, let's have a look here at the spec sheet and we'll talk about value to specs ratio in a little bit. But we have, and remember, James spec'd this guitar for me based upon him knowing what I love, and he nailed it. Kiesel Guitars, Escondido, made in America, down the street from LA. Well, I mean, it's an hour from LA. With LA traffic, it's more like 6 hours. Order number, all that good stuff. Sold to James, shipped to me. Don't be showing up at my house. Holdsworth Headless Kiesel. This is an Allan Holdsworth guitar, which I love and adore. Met him several times at Berklee College of Music. He used to come all the time. We used to talk, sometimes for hours. One of the nicest human beings you will have ever met in your life. And if you've met him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Alder body, spectacular spec. Alder body is absolutely amazing for a guitar. No surcharge for that. And what's so incredible is that you can literally spec your Kiesel the way you want it. And that's something I didn't know, which is really, really cool. Try that with PRS and you'll be at $15,000, if not more. Birch top, very cool, $150 surcharge. Chambered body. Now again, this is of course taste related because that's what gives it a little bit of that fusion-y tone. Chambered body, of course, is style dependent, so we cannot judge that. However, $150 for basically having less wood. But of course, it takes time and craftsmanship talent. Clear satin matte finish is $0. All right, very cool. Jet black, $0. Gold metallic logo, $20 for that. Now, here's an interesting thing you can do if you didn't know. Ebony fretboard with less color variation. So because the ebony nowadays is full of light brown poop-looking inserts, they actually give you the option to spec it for you in a way that it's clean ebony. And if you look at the guitar, they clearly did a great job because the ebony fretboard on that particular guitar that I got is absolutely spectacular. No streaking at all, blackest ebony we have. I love how they add that note here, which is really cool. 20 freaking inch fretboard radius. I mean, this is insane. And we'll get to how the guitar plays, but this is awesome. I mean, most of my stuff is compound 12 to 16. Of course, the Les Pauls are 12. The Strats are anywhere from 7 1/4 and upwards. Eric Johnson 12. You know, the more spices you have in the kitchen, the better. Unless you are one of those sad guys who's stuck with an endorsement and you have to stick to what you got. Diamond shape inlays, $30. Abalone inlays, $50. And the abalone on this one look absolutely spectacular. Jumbo gold frets, $30. Tongue all finish, etc., etc., etc. Maple neck. Install the Kiesel Holdsworth pickups. We go to page 2. Pickup holes black, $20 surcharge. And replace we don't have. Install 942, which is good. Strap lock installation, $30. So your total for this fully loaded spec guitar, salesperson croissant, is $2,239. Freight, sales tax, $2,500. So for $2,500, now regardless whether this guitar is for you, for $2,500 you get a built in California, USA handmade, USA craftsmanship guitar, $2,400. Now, that is actually pretty impressive when you look at the pricing from some of the other garbage that's out there. I'll give you an example. something I just blasted all over the internet. This piece of shit Fender 78 Eruption made in Mexico for $1,900. So by the time you add tax, you're about $400 difference. By the way, these aren't even original specs. They're using not even the real wood or nothing. So made in Mexico, $1,900 versus made in the USA, $2,400. So something to think about, friends. Speaking of craftsmanship, let me tell you something. The looks might maybe not be for me, but the craftsmanship more than offsets that by 100 folds. I own $6,000 custom shop guitars that don't have the craftsmanship that these guys do in Escondido. The abalone inlays are so deep and the 3D almost makes you high without even hitting the weed I have at home. The fretwork is absolutely spectacular. The way it's installed, hammered, leveled, and rounded, and just the feel of the frets are just absolute insanity. The ebony is truly spectacular, and outside of the Gibson Les Paul Custom from the custom shop, that black guitar you saw earlier, I have a hard time thinking of any manufacturer whose ebony comes even close to the one that KIESEL can source. The finish and the rounding of the wood is absolutely insanity. As a matter of fact, it screams quality from 100 yards away. Even if you know nothing about guitars, you can tell that whoever built this clearly is next level talent. The satin finish is probably one of the most leveled satin finishes I've ever seen outside of the EVH Stealth, which remember costs $4,000, almost double than what this guitar costs. And while the plate isn't leveled, which would have given it an ultimate cherry on top, it still looks absolutely beautiful. I hate to admit it, but this is probably one of the smoothest necks I've ever played in my life. And I've played about 4,000 guitars. The finish on it and the wood sourcing with the quarter sawn is absolutely incredible. It feels so smooth that you have a hard time putting it down. Even the rounding and the neck set are absolutely flawless. This is by far probably one of the nicest feeling necks I have ever played. You know, this guitar, I feel like it's taking me from one super high to one super low every step of the way in like oscillating intervals. You know, the craftsmanship on this is incredible. And we'll get to playability and pickup and all this stuff. But what's so fun is that I don't know even how to restring this guitar. And I'm watching this video and again, I'm shaking my head. Listen to this.
You'll get your wire cutters, cut off any excess string.
So you cut off the string.
As you see when you do that, even if you have a really good pair of wire cutters, you'll still have a tiny little bit of string sticking out. And we don't want that. So what you're going to do is loosen the locking nut, pull the string back ever so slightly, just so it's sitting.
Why? I mean, how is that better than a regular tuning thing, you know? And here, you know, maybe I'm missing the point of this guitar. Maybe, and you guys tell me, because again, this is my first time I'm exposed to this, but is the whole point of this guitar strictly just to save space? I mean, I don't get it. You make a child-sized body, you make it hollow, you freaking cut the neck off. I mean, if the whole point of this guitar is just to make it a travel-sized guitar, why not just make it a block and be done with it? Like, you know, there's other brands out there that I've seen that are just a block, you know? But it's, to me, how is this more intuitive than just adjusting? I mean, to change strings here is the same kind of like as a Floyd. You put the thing underneath, you know, a little foam piece that's included in the bag. But then the fact that you have to tighten it and then loosen it to get rid of the excessive thing and tighten it, I just don't see it being a better system, a more intuitive system. To me, you're doing double work. And sure, yeah, again, you can be a fanboy and go in the comments and be like, it's really not that big of a deal. And of course, to you, probably nothing is, hence you being a slave to the brand. But for me, who's exposed to this for the first time, I don't get it. I mean, you're not accomplishing anything. So unless the point is strictly to just save space, But then why even give it the body? Just make it a block guitar and be done. But it doesn't stop here. Let me show you some things up close that are even more frustrating. All right, a couple more things that are really annoying, and I just kind of struggle with the design is you can put the tuning clip, or the clip tuner I should say here, which fits comfortably, okay? Now, since this is basically a Floyd type system, however not locked in, think of it like an Ernie ball kind of a system. You still will have to do adjustments here. So, by the way, you can hear there's something in the body that they left, and it's clearly not anywhere here. Whatever. And so you're going to have to make adjustments here, right? So you might as well just keep this plate off, which, by the way, should be recessed. There's nothing that's going to convince me it looks better. Again, Ernie ball, but you might as well just leave the stupid plate off because you're going to be making adjustments here all the time, especially if you want to change a quick open tuning or something, in which case you're going to have to balance the whole thing. But then you're tuning here, and now watch this. I'm not pressing hard at all, but it takes quite a bit of, here, I'll do minimal force to turn this. There you go, it turned. Look at my finger. Look at that. Look at those two. I mean, again, at least on the Floyd Rose, you have these fine tuners that truly are fine. Let's go to the A string here. So again, I'm pressing minimally. It's not turning. Okay, I'm sliding. I'm going to go a little bit harder. Okay, still not. Okay, there you go. It turned. Look at that. I mean, I don't want that every freaking time, let alone if I'm spending 50 minutes tuning it up. Okay, now here, the next thing is this edge is super sharp because you don't have kind of like that scoop that you have in the neck, okay? So if you're kind of like me who has a little bit of an angle, you're going to hit that. And again, I'm nitpicking, but guess what? That's what this is about. So if you come to the second, let's say to the low E on the second fret, you're not going to hit it. But watch this. If I go to the first, I noticed by accident playing the other day. Okay, now I'm hitting it. Watch. Look at that. That is right here. Right there. See? So let me show you again. So if you come here and I hit it, look how I'm hitting it right into the corner of it, okay? Of the, kind of like of the nut and then the side thing, because you don't have that fall off. So I'm going to do it a few times and then put my hand here so you can kind of see it in the light. So watch this. Even if you do a power chord like, okay, look at that. So just be aware of that if you're kind of like in whatever, doing something low tuning and you're going to be sliding in. And if you have a little bit of an angle like I do, unless you're playing like Nuno, who's like super flat. But again, just things that I'm discovering for the first time playing this. So this to me is incredibly annoying, incredibly frustrating. Let's see what the pickups sound like. For sound test, we have today the HJS, the Blue Limited head. We also have the Jubilee, but that's a little bit two-tone specific. I want something a little bit more neutral, and we'll just cycle the channels. We're going to go into the quartet, straight into Pro Tools, Royer 121 and 57. So listen, this is a really nice setup, mic'd really nicely. If it sounds great, it's going to be due to the guitar. If it sounds shitty, it's due to the guitar. No effects. Maybe we'll use a little reverb and delay, courtesy of the MXRs, which are great pedals. But I mean, pretty straightforward. A Marshall, little reverb, delay, and that should tell us all we need to know. So I'm listening back to the clean sounds while it's rendering, and you see that's the difference between some guy in a store playing some fancy shit over a badass backing track and you thinking, oh my God, this guitar sounds great, versus just doing pale, boring stuff to expose those pickups. Listen, I don't know a lot of shit, and a lot of it is subjective, but I promise you, if there's one thing I do know with respect to what I'm talking about, it's pickups. I do have a pretty good understanding of what makes a good pickup objectively. Art is subjective, but there's also, you know when you're looking at something that isn't quite talented. And I love all music. I mean, I listen to Justin Bieber, to death metal and everything in between. I love me some fusion as well, but this is an okay pickup. This is by no means is this a great pickup. And I think it suffers just not having it just doesn't have the balls behind it, Actually, the pickup is pretty aggressive, but I feel like the guitar ruins it, because you're missing mass, you're missing sustain. It just sounds pale, man. I've never heard my Satriani head sound this fucking pale, man. The saving grace of this is that two things. Number one, for me personally, it gives me something I don't have. So with respect to that, this definitely gives me a spice in the kitchen to cook with. So that in itself, I'm already sold on. And the playability of this instrument is phenomenal. If I could put this neck and the feel of this fretboard on half of my guitars, I would instantly. I mean, I'd be lying to deny that. This is one of the finest playing necks, but I mean, the pickups, I mean, honestly, almost, I don't know if you can tell, versus my other reviews, but I almost got uninspired to keep playing on the clean sound. There was nothing there that gave me, like, when you listen to an Eric Johnson pickup, or like a 490, 498, or the EVH pickups, or like an APH1 or 2, or like a 59 Lawrence, or like a Tex-Mex on the tellies, or freaking even a 57 Classic, which isn't all that great of a pickup, but at least it has, that to it, the DiMarzio's YJMs. I mean, sorry, the Seymour Duncan's YJMs. I mean, I have DiMarzio's Air Nortons. I mean, shit, freaking Texas specials for all I care. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm gonna skip the high gain channel because that's just the amp. But let's go to some crunch and see what we got there. Oh boy, you can really tell the hollowness of the body. All right, I'm listening back to the distortion stuff while it's rendering, and so yeah, listen, you know, I'll let you make your own opinion. It was really fun reviewing this. I'm incredibly grateful to have this. And you might be surprised. You'll be like, whoa, it kind of seems like you don't like it. Well, actually, quite the opposite is true. This really makes me kind of go, actually, I just went on the KIESEL website, and it kind of makes me research the brand a little bit more. They have some good looking guitars. Because if all of them play like this, I think I wouldn't be surprised if maybe down the road I try another one. It's with respect to this one, I'm sure it does something great. Maybe that's just that fusion tone, and that's really what obviously Allan was after. I don't think it's very versatile, but I think what it does great. To me, this is kind of like the Worcestershire sauce, you know, that you have. You'll rarely need it, but when you do, nothing else will do instead of it, you know. So sucks you can't hang it up, and you know, look wise, you know, guys, being a musician is show business. It's looks. You know, I graduated from Berklee College of Music, so when I see somebody play these, I already know what to expect, and I like it because I am into that technical stuff, you know, 3,000 chords for 3 people, as you call it. But my concern is, you know, if you're into anything but that, you know, kind of like, well, what's left outside of that? Pop and rock and classical, and obviously, you know, we don't need electric guitars for that. But my concern is that you might not be doing yourselves favors image-wise, you know. And I'm not saying you got to put on a Strat or Les Paul. I mean, I just recently got back to Strats and Les Pauls, and, you know, I went through 500 million guitars and have another 60 at the studio. But to me, it's just, I get this, you know, but the average person, if you're looking to make a living in music, it's just, you know, I FaceTime with my mom, and she thought this looked really fucking weird, you know. So I don't think, you know, the whole headless thing, and I saw KIESEL has some guitars that have full body, like, you know, legit bodies, and still headless. It just doesn't look right to me. It's just something about it just... you know, and of course this is fully subjective. It just really, I don't know, man. It just doesn't look right to me, and I could be wrong. It could be the most beautiful thing ever, but, and also, you know, now what's so funny again, it's the playability is incredible. I don't know if you see how much wear I already have on it, and that's because today actually is the first time I really plugged it in. But the reason I have so much wear, because for the last, you know what, I might be pushing 100 hours on this now. For the last few weeks, even before I went to Europe, I've been playing nothing but this on the couch. So for around the house, or like going to the garage when I, you know, give the cats some, as I call, yard time, I love this, man. I mean, just, it's so much easier to take it real quick and throw it over there, and and it's super light because, you know, again, it's like toy size. I mean, look at this. Whenever you ever see me stand and do a whole freaking, you know, post-mortem with a guitar holding it, I mean, look at this. But that's also its problem. So, you know, I don't remember last time I took another guitar off the wall, just because of how practical this is, just to practice. You know what I mean? So, make no mistake, I'm pushing easily probably 100 hours at this point on this. So, but would I take this on stage? No. It's just, and you know, this is a phenomenal thing to have. Again, having that spice in the kitchen that you're missing. But it's kind of like, to me, it's. I was joking with a friend. He says he saw me with this. He goes, "Oh, you bought a Prius," you know. So. You know, thanks to my dear friend James, had he not gifted me one, I would have never even thought of being exposed to the brand like this, you know, and they have some cool stuff, and the fact that you can kind of build it and modify it is really dope, and there's some good looking guitars. But what I will say again, and I cannot stress it enough, it's the craftsmanship is incredible, the playability is stupid. And if I had, I mean, I have some obviously amazing playing guitars, you know, because I go through a lot of guitars to find good ones, but this out of the box is freaking stupendously good. You know, the pickups are okay, but again, it'll give me something that I don't have. And there were some settings that I think actually could be really cool to throw into a song or two, you know. For traveling, this is great. I travel a lot, so I'm going to bring this with me everywhere I go, because again, just for having as a practice guitar alone, this is worth it. And again, value-wise, I have to say too, because if I look at some of that flat-out fucking rip-off garbage that Fender is doing, made in Mexico, EVH eruption, not even spec-wise accurate, for $2,000, and this is $400 more. I can tell you right now, I'm not a fan of Fender, because they are pretty much, I mean, what they're doing now is almost rude. So, well, no, it is rude, and a lot of people in my groups are really turned off by that. But whatever, hey, you know, it's capitalism. If people are dumb enough to give you money for something that dumb, then take it, you know. But great guitar, great craftsmanship. I feel like I'm coming a long way, you know. I grew up detesting these, and we've made the first step to become really good friends. And so far on the couch, we really are. Now we just got to find that connection in with respect to the amplifier. And hopefully they, I don't know if they were at NAMM this time. A few years ago they were at NAMM, but then everything was locked up, so I couldn't try it, which I blasted them for it, and I think they finally got the point, because that's why you're there at NAMM, you know. But I remember going to the KIESEL booth and had all the guitars on the wall, and they had them locked, like, you know, you couldn't take them down, which defeats the whole fucking purpose of going to NAMM. So anyway, great stuff. Man, what a smooth neck, and I'm definitely going to check out some other KIESEL stuff, so see if we can maybe take this from friendship to the dating stage. I'll leave you with my last video, Moral Bankruptcy. Leave some comments. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you loved, you know, at least you liked the honesty. As you can see, you know, when you play and expose a guitar raw, it's much different than, you know, fancy backing tracks and production. So just for the sake of selling you stuff. But this is my take on it, and I feel like from here it can only get better. Take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, and really appreciate you guys.